Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio said there is a new doctrine set in place by Tony Khan saying that there are no granted releases in AEW. You sign the contract, you're going to stay under contract. But we're going to talk about this a little bit more later on the show, that, he's willing to give some time off. What do you think of this new doctrine of Tony Khan? I know we've talked about this with WWE where, if someone wants to leave and it's true that they're requesting their release, let them go. But I see Tony Khan's point. If this is true, you signed a contract. These are the terms. I'm the boss. The contract's always going to be in the boss's favor because they're the ones writing it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think with the climate of just pro wrestling right now, especially with Triple H being the guy that's running creative in WWE, I don't think it's very likely that any prominent name is going to get released from a contract in AEW just because they're requesting it. Because you open the door for them just going over to WWE, showing up on Raw, showing up on SmackDown, showing up on NXT, and doing exactly what Cody did, pretty much, right? And look where, I mean, granted, he got hurt. It's exactly why WWE does what they do in terms of contracts. And from what I understand, the no compete, you're still getting paid throughout that whole thing. And with AEW, it's very much the same, I think. Look, if Wardlow went to Tony Khan, right? Wardlow has built himself up in AEW. He was one of their most over guys, probably still one of their most over guys. If he went to Tony Khan and said, I want my release, Tony Khan would be stupid to just say, okay, yeah, by all means, best of luck, go ahead. And it's not because Tony Khan's being spiteful. It's because he doesn't want his homegrown talent showing up on Monday Night Raw because that's not good for his business. You sign a contract, you negotiate a contract. If you don't want to sign a long-term deal, you should negotiate that. I don't blame him in a certain way.
I don't blame him, but I've said this on the podcast before when it was related to WWE. If a guy does honestly does not want to be there, why keep him there? Because it's just going to lower morale. It's going to lose the chemistry that they have in the locker room or whatever. It affects the on-screen product if you have a bunch of depressed people out there in the ring, like half-assing their matches or whatever. And I'm not saying that definitely will happen because they want to be released, but you also have to take into consideration that they actually asked for the release to begin with. We know Malachi Black definitely did because he actually said it in an Instagram post. He asked for his release. Mm-hmm. After that, anything that talks about a release, you have to take with a grain of salt. Even with the best journalists and most credible when it comes to the Wade Kellers and the Dave Meltzers and the Sean Ross Sapps and the Andrew Zarians. And not only that, now we have people that are trying to spread things as reports and then trying to pin them on the journalists. I literally saw before we started recording this episode, someone saying that Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland were getting talked to by Triple H and Andrew Zarian reported it. And then Andrew Zarian is going all over Twitter and saying, I never said this. I never reported this. That's the other thing. Like, come on, people. Don't just believe everything on the internet.